Listen, I'm not going to take up too much of your time here before we actually get into Dino Fury this week, but I will say this. Because I wanted to commemorate this episode, it is in fact the first episode of the season. I didn't quite want to do this review by myself. So I decided, and you've seen this guy's handsome face on this channel a bajillion times, especially if you're a big Kamen Rider fan. I decided to go ahead and bring Stewart Branscombe in for his thoughts as well. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Hey, good to be back. Glad to be talking about Power Rangers again.
Yeah, I think the last time we actually spoke, I think we had, we speak outside of this, obviously, but the last time we had you on the show, I believe, was for the Beast Morphers breakdown reviews towards the end of the second season. We had a blast, man, talking about Power Rangers. So fantastic to certainly have you on board, bro.
Oh yeah, fantastic to be here. Enjoyed, I definitely enjoyed last time talking about the Beast Morphers season finale and then also the Dino crossover. So I'm really excited to talk about this first episode for Dino Fury, definitely.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. And real quick before we get to that, listen, going forward, we do have at least created ourselves a brand new overlay when it comes to Power Rangers Dino Fury. This is really what it's going to look like when we do our reviews for each episode of Dino Fury going forward. Not only will we showcase it in our week-long, or I should say our weekly shows of A Plus Morphinominal, but after this show winds up wrapping up later that afternoon, I'll probably will go ahead and actually make the Dino Fury reviews their own individual episodes as well. If you guys want to either come back to the full length episode here for A Plus Morphinominal or check it out for yourself. But because of the fact that we do have ourselves a special guest today, I decided to go ahead and just change this up a little bit for today's sake to give Stewart some room so we don't have that big ass dino charge in front of your face, buddy. That's just inappropriate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to be the good host here. So thank you very much, man, for certainly joining us. But guys, let's get into Dino Fury. And without getting into details, I just got to say, wow. Thank you so much, Simon Bennett, for just putting this together, whether it be the directors and Charles, I believe, or Charlie, I believe his name was, to the writers and Becca and Alwyn. I thought they came out the gates really strong in here, man. I mean, they really continued to showcase the idea of them taking off some handcuffs, doing things creatively from a production point of view to kind of change things up. Musically, I thought the composer, whoever did the music for this episode, was absolutely brilliant. Again, it continues to show that and I think we mentioned this even at the top, Stewart, the idea that, if you weren't the biggest fan of Dino Fury, you definitely do see how the theme itself relates to not only the series, but other music bound to follow in Dino Fury. So it makes that intro even come together even more fantastically well. I thought the characters were absolutely brilliant in here. I really appreciated the idea that we get Zato's storyline towards the end of the episode, and you really allow us to kind of sink our teeth into some of these brand new characters, some of the brand new set pieces and things like that. There are definitely some feelings that I get from like Beast Morphers a little bit, their first episode. I feel like there's a little bit of a homage in there when we see Kai kind of pushing the crate or something like that. I believe that was something that Zoe also did as well. But outside of that, I thought it was a really great season premiere, honestly, and really gets me hyped for what we're going to be getting. But overall, Stewart, what did you think about the episode, man? Did it hit everything that you certainly wanted it to without getting too detailed in regards to the characters? How did you think about the episode overall?
I really enjoyed it. I had a bunch of concerns when it came to, the big narrative that we heard that they were going to be doing for the season, how it was going to, start with Zato and his home planet. And then it was going to, have all this like backstory behind it, because immediately my mind went to Ninja Steel. And, the biggest thing of why the pilot for Ninja Steel was really bad is essentially, I want to say, like the entire episode was like 30% narration. And so, it just felt like the whole thing was just, them forcing all this exposition like all over the place. And so the first Ninja Steel episode just came out to be like a mess. And so that's what I was partially worried this episode was going to turn out to be. But what surprised me about this episode was how well paced it was. Like they had a lot of lore that they were going to drop, and they dropped it all at the end. And while they had the narration, of course, to explain it all, it was the diegetic narration. So you had it all through Zato's point of view. And I love that they didn't feel the need to explain every single detail to you once. Like it still left enough mystery to keep you intrigued for the rest of the season, such as we still don't know who the Void Knight is, for example. We also see that, Zato recognizes the armor, but we don't really know the history behind the armor. So I love that that doesn't have to get explained right away. Like they leave a lot of room for a lot of mystery for things that can come throughout later in the season. And then, of course, I absolutely love the characters that we got introduced to in this episode, which I see a lot of people in the live chat currently mentioning that they absolutely love the characters, which I couldn't agree more with. Like when it comes to Ollie, it's funny because let me start with Amelia first, because Amelia, I love those type of characters. I love I love paranormal investigators, or people who believe in the paranormal in real life. Like for me personally, as someone who doesn't, I've always had a fascination for it, for urban legends, for actual real events of what people claim were paranormal activities and that kind of stuff. I've always had a huge fascination for it, and I'm always hoping that one day someone will be able to prove me wrong. And that's what I love, is that Amelia is that character where it's like I feel like if she lived in our world, she could be that character that might one day prove me wrong. And then I love how we get Ollie, who's in the sense of not believing in that kind of paranormal stuff, similar to me. But whereas like I kind of want to be proven wrong, he's very closed-minded in the sense of he doesn't want to be proven wrong. He has like the mindset of, no, paranormal things are not real. I know that for sure. You're not going to change my mind. That kind of a mindset, which I find very fascinating about him for sure. And I think one attention to detail I thought was kind of clever in this episode is that a lot of people were not a lot, like I only listened to a few reviews of the episode, but I remember two of them claiming that in the episode there's a line where they try to say aliens aren't real, but that's not the case. I made sure to watch this episode twice so I could listen to that line specifically. No one in the episode ever claimed that aliens weren't real, which of course would have been really dumb to say if you lived in the Power Rangers universe, to be like, aliens aren't real. You pay attention to the news. So that doesn't happen. They specifically say ghosts aren't real in the episode, which as far as I know, in Power Rangers, we've never seen ghosts in the view of the public eye. So it makes total sense that you would still have people within that universe not believing in ghosts. Like we know that they exist in Power Rangers, but we can totally see how the general population wouldn't know they exist. So there are just so many small details like that in this episode that I absolutely really enjoyed.
Well, I will say this, and we talked about this at the top before we even went live. I mean, it's funny to me, the idea that this guy in Kai clearly knows who the Power Rangers are, has watched the news, knows the idea of Zords and aliens and things like this, but yet he doesn't believe in ghosts. Like, bro, you believe in aliens from another planet? You've seen them come down and destroy cities for like half your life. Like, and you're telling me you don't believe in ghosts though, right? Like, you need to see that to believe it. Okay, bro, whatever. So yeah, talk about being a true skeptic when it comes to Kai. But I think I'm really gonna enjoy that aspect of him this season. I honestly feel as though his experiences as a Power Ranger here is really gonna open his eyes to discovering a lot more that's going on in this universe. And I think even he and his mother might have speculated or thought about it in the past, if you will. So I think the idea of him being friends with somebody like Amelia, who is, open to believing in that stuff, who knows, maybe she'll rub off on him a little bit as the season progresses. Looking at episode 2 going ahead, one of the descriptions was the idea of Ollie having to learn, the idea of teamwork and all this other stuff. I'm pretty sure there's a ton of different lessons that Ollie certainly is going to have to learn as the season progresses. But I do want to see him grow in his skepticism, if you will, or at least bringing that down a little bit to showcase him being a little bit more open-minded as the season winds up progressing. But yeah, I think for me, the characters definitely won me over. For me, Hunter Deno was the superstar in this episode as Amelia. First off, I immediately love her pink moped along with just her style. Like that blazer just looks great on her. I thought the idea of Buzz Blast very much kind of taken away from BuzzFeed or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, you definitely get those vibes here. And I love the set design. I honestly love the set design for Buzz Blast. There's really cool something about the direction of the long one shot around the entire sort of area of Buzz Blast, so you can really see how large that set piece actually is for itself. So I think it looks great, man. So set design, music, characters are all there, and you're absolutely right in regards to there's certainly being a mystery involved. I do love the idea of Zato bringing up, where did you steal that armor from, right? So clearly Zato has some connection to this Void Knight armor. Maybe he knew who owned it prior, and we have that mystery as to who has it now. That's probably definitely going to be something that winds up being a mystery throughout this entire season. And I really hope, because of the fact that we did get Zato's his history, or I should say a brief history from Zato. I'm really hoping that we get more flashback sequences as the season winds up progressing, whether that be just flashback sequences or actually a full episode of Zato and his past. I really would love to see a little bit more about it, because I believe I saw some people online mention the idea that, as I believe Simon Bennett wind up mentioning, that Zato's history could probably be its own show at the end of the day, and that's definitely something I personally would want to see. I don't think we'll ever get a spinoff of Zato, but tell me as much as you possibly can about the backstory for Dino Fury, and I'll absolutely love it. Because I mean, even in this episode, Stewart, we get introduced to the Morphing Masters, which I honestly was not expecting to see. You want to talk about Simon Bennett and the writing team really tapping into Power Ranger lore. We saw them do that fantastically well in Beast Morphers, and they're really continuing just that that pacing here when it comes to Dino Fury. What did you think about the appearance of the Morphing Masters? Were you surprised to see them?
Very surprised. There was like a part of me that had to be like, wait, I didn't hear that right. But then you kind of see the look as they come out of the portal, and you're like, nope, that is, it doesn't look exactly like it does in the comic books. A lot different in design, but the aesthetic is very similar. The color palette is exactly the same. The costume designs and stuff. There's some very specific differences, but overall, it's definitely supposed to be the same Morphin Masters that we get from the comic books. And I thought it was so cool like that, to have that connective tissue. Cause I mean, the only time I've ever seen like connective tissue between the show and the comics before this was Ninja Steel, in the 25th anniversary with Tommy Oliver's son being, the same kid that we see later in I forgot the name of that comic, but the future Tommy comic book. But other than that,
Soul of the Dragon.
Soul of the Dragon. That's right. Yeah. Other than that, I didn't really expect them to have any like direct links to the comic books. Not like this, where I know a lot of people like will say that the comics aren't really canon to the show, and whether or not they're like directly in continuity, they still share that same multiverse. So it is cool that they can still, whether or not they're in the exact same universe, they can still have that connective tissue, and it would still, to me anyways, it always totally makes a lot of sense that you could have these elements play out in both the shows, and then same with the shows into the comic books.
Yeah, I was really shocked and surprised to actually even see them pop up in here. For me, I always wonder what the connective tissue is like behind the scenes with writers from the comic books, from the television shows to the movies, right? Like, are they ever influenced by one another? Do they ever contact one another and things like that? I don't know if Simon Bennett actually reached out to Boom Studios or spoke to Ryan Parrott or Kyle Higgins or anybody like that in regards to it. But the idea that they wind up bringing the Morphing Masters in here, I thought was pretty brilliant. Honestly, I'm getting to see them bestow the Rafcon Knights with these morphin abilities, if you will, and really seeing them kind of harness that power also. So I'm wondering if this is going to be the last time that we see the Morphing Masters, or if they wind up sort of popping up. It's just funny to me that like the one Power Ranger comic book series that I was not the biggest fan of in Beyond the Grid now has elements from it that are being utilized in the show. So I'm like, damn, do I gotta do a second read through of this comic book series once again? So yeah, it should be fascinating. I do think they have an incredible history in regards to the Morphing Master. So I hope it gets explored a little bit more along with that, and in Zato's history also. So kudos to Simon Bennett for being able to tap into that lore and really giving some of our Power Ranger fans, whether they be adult fans or comic book fans, just something that we can be like, hey, I know those guys, or I've seen them before. So I love when he winds up putting in those connective tissues. So let's talk a little bit more about the characters though here, Stewart. In regards to Amelia, the idea of her trying to talk to her supervisor in this episode to let her do a story on Dinohenge, really to kind of prove the idea that ghosts are real. I love just a little quick shot of as she's telling Jane, her manager, that she has permission. When she walks by the camera, I love the fact that she's got her fingers crossed behind her back. Just little subtleties like that really show me like they're paying attention to what they're filming. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. In fact, like, I know we're talking about the camera characters, but I gotta take a quick moment to talk about that amazing like filmography that the videography we got in this episode. Because yeah, I thought the way the camera would reveal things like as they were being cued in with the dialogue was absolutely brilliant in this episode. Like, especially like that shot that you mentioned. I like how right after, you know, she mentions having permission, the camera just perfectly pans out at the perfect angle, but it's also subtle about it. It's not like being like, it's not like in a way where it totally shifts like in a full like direction, like just to reveal the punchline to the joke. It's like all in the same motion as well. So it all just like, you don't realize it's leading to a punchline to a joke until after, you know, the setup. And I thought that was just absolutely brilliant. So I absolutely loved the camera work in this episode, because the camera a lot of times always felt like it was moving, and it really helped with the ending of the episode with the action scenes. But yeah, I do agree, like with Amelia, I definitely thought her you know, interactions with the boss in the very beginning, I can't remember the boss's name, but I thought that
Jane,
was
I believe her name was Jane.
Jane? Okay. Yeah, I absolutely love the witty dialogue between the two of them. You know, it really, you know, I gotta wonder like who wrote this episode. I should have looked up their name, but I gotta give kudos.
I think it was Becca and Alwyn.
Okay, was in that case, yeah, I got to give major props to her, because the dialogue I think in this episode was absolutely brilliant the entire time. Like, the wittiness of it was enough to give me some good chuckles here and there, but it never felt like they were trying to interrupt any important like scenes in order to tell a joke. Like, the jokes really fit into the writing of the episode really well.
Yeah, one of the one of the lines that I really enjoy, again, to showcase Ollie's sarcastic side, after he winds up getting electrocuted by Amelia. She asks him, like, what are you doing here? He says, oh, well, I read a review that this place was the best place to get zapped. 5 stars is what he says. Like, I thought it was pretty funny. Like, hey, you came across at just a perfect time, man. But I do love just seeing how, like, the idea of Amelia and Ollie just kind of meeting felt very fluid. You know, the idea of like, hey, I'm just going to meet my mom at this place, and they just happen to bump into each other and just wind up forming a bond that way. I really enjoyed kind of seeing how these two wind up meeting, even getting the opportunity to meet Ollie's mother here, and Dr. Akana, who she's actually doing some scans, which winds up revealing the actual chamber underneath Dinohenge also. But I will say this, outside of the great just back and forth between Ollie and Amelia, kind of going back to your point of the dialogue was really on par here. I did love the idea that they wind up getting stopped by Warden Buzzkill, even though that's not his name. It's actually Warden Garcia. I gotta say, I'm kind of curious if Warden Garcia is actually the parent to Izzy and Javi. Because I think isn't it Javier Garcia and Izzy Garcia who are the brothers and sisters? So I am wondering if this warden of the park or of this national park or whatever is actually their parents. What do you think?
If that's the case, then probably. I honestly didn't realize that. In fact, I actually kind of thought his name was legit Buzzkill. Just because I figure it is Power Rangers, so if any show can get away with having a character with that type of a name, it's definitely Power Rangers.
Yeah, no, that's definitely just what Amelia winds up calling him for sure. Because even Ollie's like, oh, so you've clearly gotten on the wrong side of the warden before. He's like, yeah, maybe once, twice, 17 times. You know, she's clearly a little bit of a troublemaker herself. But I really just love, again, the dialogue, the chemistry between these two, and I love the fact that we have not been introduced to the entire squad as of yet. I do like the idea of at least giving us 3 Rangers to truly focus on when you have side characters like Dr. Akana, clearly Zato's cyborg dinosaur friend in Zolan, and things like that. I like the idea of at least having 3 Rangers to focus on so that we can at least get their stories, get acclimated to those characters before you start throwing in additional characters and things like that. Use these first 3 or 4 episodes to really build them up as their own individual characters before bringing other people in. And I think that's a really great way of not only storytelling, but at least getting your viewers to be emotionally connected to these people when you really start diving deeper into these seasons.
Yeah, fully agree. Um,
Let's. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sorry, just one quick funny this is just like a pure nitpick. It's not like actually like a real critique of the episode, but I did find it funny that the whole area that they go to was supposed to be, a blocked off area that you had to have a permit for, but then you kind of look at where they're at and you see that there's so many man-made trails around that area. I'm like, are you sure
Yeah.
this is either not really blocked off or this warden really sucks at his job?
He probably really sucks at his job. It's probably a combination of both. Let's see here. A quick honorable mention does go out to the Void Knight. I believe hold on, let me make sure I have this right. I want to give the man his props for sure. Hopefully I still have this up. Void Knight, voiced by Jared Turner, which was actually revealed to us by the Power Scoop. Check him out on Twitter if you get a chance, the Power Scoop. But Jared Turner actually has the Void Knight. What did you think of his voice?
Um, didn't really stick out, but it wasn't like bad. I think it definitely did its job for the episode. Uh Normally I've noticed with a lot of villain roles, they tend to take a few episodes before they really get comfortable in their role. So he still feels like in this that he's still kind of looking for his footing. But I didn't think it was bad with that being said.
Yeah, usually when it comes to television, they definitely very much do film their episodes in order. So the one thing that I always loved when it comes to TV is really watching the actors and their voice actors just becoming more familiar with their characters, becoming more comfortable not only in their characters but also around everybody else. And I think that's really where you start getting to see those bonds really kind of continue to form between our characters. So yeah, you're absolutely right in regards to. I didn't mind the voice. I think Jared did a pretty good job. It felt a little bit significantly different than maybe some of the other past villains that we've heard of a little bit. I don't know if it's just maybe I don't know if they're putting layers over their voice when they go into ADR or whatever the case may be, but I do love how Jared's voice comes across as the Void Knight. So I'm really fascinated to see his role going forward. And let's talk a little bit about the fight itself. Steve McQuillan goes to go ahead and show off his skills once again, going from the Disney era, bringing it back here to Dino Fury. I thought it was brilliant. One of the critiques that I had when we watched the trailer itself was, man, the lighting is pretty poor. Like the lighting seems relatively dark, but when you come to see the context of the episode, the idea that they are emerging inside this underground chamber that clearly doesn't have full power or hasn't been in full operation in quite some time, it certainly makes sense. But again, it almost adds to a dynamic to this, the way it was filmed and shot, that I really enjoyed. And the moment we have Ollie and Amelia both with their sabers in hand, their chroma sabers, I believe they're calling them, that music kicks in, man, and really just starts taking just this scene to a whole completely different level. Like that moment that you see them transform and then Ollie jumps over that first rack of equipment, that guitar or whatever comes in, and I'm like, oh shit, like, and you're just in the thick of it. I love the shot selection. I love the fight sequence. The wire work was brilliant. That split by Amelia, she's like, check it, and then she jumps up into the air. Fantastic stuff, man. Had me on the seat, on the edge of my seat. Steve McQuillan, first episode out. What did you think just about the choreography for the fights?
Choreography was really good. I loved the way that it definitely kind of felt like there was a big shift in the fights from when from before they were morphed to like after they were morphed. It was very similar, and I've seen other people making this comparison, very similar to the first Beast Morphers episode. You get the civilian fights with them where they clearly are skilled. They clearly do have a basic understanding in martial arts. However, they're still like, they're still not equipped with the power of a Power Ranger. So you see them using a lot more of their environment to fend off all the henchmen in that whole scene. So, and And then once you get them like morphed and turned into Power Rangers, I love how suddenly like they're no longer extra cautious about the way they fight. They're able to go all out with it, and it leads to, again, some really cool choreography. I think if I had like any complaints about it, I would say that I do wish it was out in a more open area, because it felt kind of cramped. So therefore,
Mhm.
it felt like a lot of shots wouldn't last as long as I wish they would have. Whereas in Beast Morphers opening episode, it felt like the space that they fought in was so open, and plus because it was only like, a 2-on-2 fight, or sorry, a 3-on-2 fight, it gave the actors a lot more room and flexibility to do a lot more things. With here, it felt like they were a little bit more limited, unfortunately. But with that said, with what they had going with it, with the space that they utilized it very well. With all the extras they had to choreograph, they had to teach the fight scenes too. I think they did an amazing job with that as well. So with all that being said, it was still a really incredible fight scene for sure, and a great way to open up this to really a great way to show us what we can look forward to going forward.
Yeah, first episode, you definitely got to make an impression, and they certainly did right out of the gate with this battle for sure. Yeah, we definitely had a lot of the hedgemen. I think they're calling them hengemen. I believe Stonehenge. Yeah, I think that's what they're going off of, like Dinohenge, henchmen. They definitely had a lot of henchmen in that command center. So yeah, definitely not a lot of room to work with. But what they were able to do, I absolutely loved it. The Kai grabbing the pole and releasing it and smacking the two guys, I thought that was pretty neat. Also, accompanied with the music, I thought was brilliant, honestly. And you're right, they definitely did have a background. I believe Kai said he had 3 years of karate, a couple more years of fencing. Also, I believe Amelia also mentioned that I have to say Kai. Ali had 3 years of karate. I believe Amelia also said she had some karate under her belt as well. So yeah, definitely at least coming out of the gates with some experience to certainly help them through this. But I'm really going to be excited for what we wind up getting here. And when it comes to the villains here, the Sporex sounds kind of fascinating to me. First off, I do love the design of the Sporex that they wind up showcasing to us. That purple, yet with that sort of yellow or orange glow inside, just kind of waiting for them to hatch and to grow. I love just the backstory that we wind up getting from Zato. The idea that the Sporex came to Rafkon, destroyed their planet, even though the Rafkon Knights tried to go ahead and fight back. And the idea of the Rafkon Knights going to Earth when they found out that the Sporex was planning on going to Earth next. And you know what? Even in that trailer, I honestly thought that that Zato was riding like a raptor or velociraptor. Homeboy's riding a T-Rex. Of all things, a T freaking Rex. So I absolutely love just seeing how that kind of all came together with them being imbued with the power of the dinosaurs from the Morphine Masters and things like that. So a really great way, I think, to kick off this season, and it'll be fascinating to see how they evolve the Sporex certainly going forward. I know some people were speculating that the little green creature that we had been seeing in some of the shots and promos and stuff thought his name was Sporex, but clearly that's definitely not the case. Sporex seems to be the name of the alien race. Now, whether or not whether or not that little green creature's name turns out to be Sporex, at this point, I don't think so. I'm assuming he's probably got his own individual name, but we haven't seen him at all in this episode. I am curious as to when he'll pop up and if Campbell Cooley is going to be doing his voice. I'm kind of curious. I'm keeping my fingers crossed if that's a possibility. What did you think about just the Sporex and just the villain side of things here?
With the spore eggs, I really enjoyed the concept behind them for sure. Just they seem less like actual like people. They seem more like viruses, and it goes to like you looking at their base forms, they literally look like germs, and then you look at what they do and how like their whole purpose is to just destroy everything in their sight. They seem a lot more like viruses than anything else. So I thought that was like really interesting, whether or not that was intended or not. But it also totally makes sense. Like if my assumption is that when we get more into the Void Knight, we're going to be introduced to his henchmen, which will probably be separate from the Sporags, and the henchman will be that mushroom guy that we see. And then I don't remember the other guy because they actually gave a name to him, but the one who kind of looks like a tower, but like a monster tower.
Oh,
Um,
Boom Tower.
Boom Tower, yeah. So I do believe those two characters are going to be like henchmen to the Void Knight, but they're not going to be Sporag specifically.
Yeah, you might be onto something there. We'll see what how this winds up unfolding. But listen, I cannot finish this review without giving our boy Russell Curry some love here as Zato, the Dino Fury Red here. First and foremost, I wasn't quite sure how I would feel about the antennas, but I honestly thought that the makeup department did a pretty good job with him. Not only just with the antennas that he has, but also his costume design. I really enjoyed all the costumes and the wardrobes in this episode. It really feels quite fitting for Zato, and to kind of see him having to really struggle on his own, right? The idea that he clearly had other fellow knight comrades that fell to the Sporax, clearly still feeling, the loss and the grief of his people kind of being gone, but now the opportunity to train a new generation, if you will. You can definitely feel that Zato is certainly carrying around a lot of what certainly happened in the past, especially when he realizes that he's woken up from his stasis 65 million years later, right? There's a lot of time that's passed and a lot of people that you've certainly lost. So there is definitely a great way that Russell projects the idea of his knighthood and the idea of his leadership, but also still being able to see that there is a part of Zato that certainly is sad that he's been gone for so long and has missed some of his comrades also. So what did you think about Russell Curry's performance here in the very first episode?
I absolutely loved it. He seems like definitely the type of character where he definitely has a lot more emotions that he refuses to show, but it's not because he doesn't have those emotions. It's because he tries to look strong for around other people. But you can tell like in his moments alone, that's when you might see him a little more vulnerable for sure. I also really like going back to the design of him. It's really funny with the antennas on his head. I kept thinking the entire time, man, if his skin was green, he would look like a Namekian from Dragon Ball Z.
Totally.
But
Totally.
yeah, no, I definitely love his designs and his design, and I absolutely love the costume design for him as well. Like both, when you see him unmorphed, and then also in the flashback when you see him fighting
Oh,
alongside all
yeah.
the other knights, I absolutely
Yeah.
loved it. And I'm just saying, man, Hasbro, I want a toy of him riding that dinosaur because that looks so cool.
And for real, I really, really do, man. I love the way that they edited that shot too. But yeah, his costume, just the helmet when he puts the face mask down, I thought it was brilliant looking, man. They did a really good job when it comes to just a lot of the design work for the costumes and the wardrobe in here. But yeah, give me more Zato, man. I loved his superhero entrance as he comes out and he's got the fog that's still behind him and he charges out. It was like that superhero landing too. It was a really great way to kind of make your appearance, especially as the leader of the Power Rangers. I mean, that's how I expect you to certainly show up to a fight, and Zato definitely did. But overall, man, listen, I got to give praise to Simon Bennett. I feel like this season is going to feel significantly different. The fact that we have brand new directors that are going to be coming in will definitely give us some brand new visions for how we're going to be looking at Power Rangers going forward. Clearly, the musical composer is on point this season it's really going to help heighten the emotion for this show also. And I love the fact that they're introducing great Power Ranger lore and really taking the time to give us some fantastic characters in here. And honestly, kind of stepping up their writing game even more. We talked about this before, the idea of Beast Morphers was just a sample. Beast Morphers was here's something that's handed to you, Hasbro. Let's see what you can kind of do with something that's been given to you and not your personal selection. Well, this is Hasbro's personal selection to do dinosaurs again, and to be able to come out like this in episode 1. I thought they did a brilliant job, to be perfectly honest with you, man. So I'm really looking forward to this season. So Simon Bennett, cast, crew, congrats on a fantastic episode 1, man.
Definitely. Going back to Zato's character really quick.
Before.
Another thing that I saw like someone bring up in the comment section, and I really hope that we definitely get some of this, is how Zato is going to be acting like out in public, because I really do hope that we get some really good fish out of water gags with him for sure.
Yeah, it should be. I'll be also interested to see how he hides his antennas. I'm curious. I'm assuming if anything, it's probably just some sort of technology to kind of maybe cover it up for him or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, maybe something that just makes him invisible or something.
Yeah, something along those lines. Oh, God, you were gonna say something else, Stuart?
Huh? Oh yeah, I was just wanted to bring up a few small details that I
Go
noticed
for it.
that
Yeah, let's get to it.
so one of them being that it's interesting. So we know that the Green Ranger in this series is going to be a girl, even though in the Sentai counterpart it was a guy. And so because of that, obviously, it's not like Nickelodeon has the budget to CG a skirt into all the Sentai footage. So obviously,
Mhm.
the smart solution is just not give the Green Ranger a skirt, right? But one thing I thought was funny is that in the flashback, we actually do see the original Green Ranger does actually have a skirt in the flashback. So I am kind of wondering if this will lead to maybe a joke later on where, maybe the Green Ranger herself just decides to take the skirt off because she's like, I'm wearing pants anyway. It's like, what is the practical use for this? And so I'm wondering if she just like makes that change to the costume herself, because I think that could be pretty funny.
That would be
Um,
pretty funny. I think that would be really on the nose too. I love that. I didn't even notice that. I'll have to go back and check that out. But I mean, yeah, if it naturally comes with the skirt, because in the past it came with a skirt, I think that would be really telling and a great a stance that she takes. Like skirt, who needs this damn thing? And takes. I would love that. I would love that.
Oh yeah, I think that'd be hilarious. And then the other thing, so I'm not sure if this was just me because it was really hard for me to get like a good visual of it, but all the flashbacks that we see with the knights and the swords that they're using, is it just me or did those swords look very similar to the swords that the sword that the Magna Defender used in
Oh,
Power Rangers Lost Galaxy? Just
ooh.
something about that design, I couldn't get a clear enough visual of it, but it to me it reminded me of the Magna Defender, and kind of seeing how Simon Bennett is aware that there's like the older fan base out there, and he said that this season would probably have some connections to other seasons. It does kind of make me cross my fingers that maybe we might get like a couple of references here or there.
Possibly. When I looked at the swords, I always was under the impression that those were the same swords that they used in Real Soldier, but for the actual mentors, the actual masters themselves, to the Real Soldier group. So I don't know. We'll definitely have to see. I can't remember. Let me see. Do I have this photo? Let me see if I have this photo in my old memory banks here on my computer. Because I thought I had a photo of the cast and crew from Real Soldier, like with them and their mentors. Let me see if I can find this photo for you, Stuart, and then you tell me if this is the same sword or not. I don't even know if I have the picture in here now that I think about it, but I thought I did. Um, I do not want to revisit. Oh, here we go. I do not want to revisit Real Soldier, by the way. What's interesting, one of the things that Simon Bennett had talked about this week was the idea that they literally watched Real Soldier live, like whenever it would air, realizing that this was a season that they were going to adapt. They would write their story as they would watch each episode that wind up premiering for Real Soldier. Are those the same swords that Zeta was using that the Masters are holding?
I don't think so, but they
No,
might be. To me, they look different, but I definitely need to rewatch. I'll have to
I'll
rewatch
have to
that
look.
scene later on so I can get like a better visual of what the swords look like.
Speaking of swords, the Dino Dagger is introduced in here, and I wasn't sure if this was going to be a weapon that only Javi used, because in the promotional material we do see Javi is the one that's actually holding it. But the fact that they can literally turn their Chroma Saber into an actual dagger itself, I thought was pretty cool. I honestly would rather it be sort of a side weapon, like an additional weapon to what they already have. But regardless, I love the fact that it's a unique weapon because they've never used it before in Real Soldier at all. I wasn't expecting to see it in this episode. Were you though?
No, I didn't think we'd get it this early, but
Me
I
neither.
actually love the use for it, using it as a throwing, essentially using
Yeah,
it as
throwing
a
knife
throwing
almost.
knife. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Let's see here. You want to move over to some comments real quick with me? We won't go through everything. You want to spend a couple of minutes on comments though?
Oh yeah, totally.
All right, cool. Let's see what we have here. Red said the side characters aren't too goofy, which I appreciate that. Yeah, they are. I mean, Dr. Arcana seems like she's going to be a nice little fit here as Ollie's mom. Warden, Buzzkill himself, Jane. They all seem like they're going to be. You also said that Jane reminds you of Cat Grant. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Off the top.
exactly.
Yeah, I definitely get that vibe a little bit too. Let's see here. Dino Real Soul says it would be cool if Gold Ranger was in fact Void Knight. The voice of Void Knight kind of sounds what kind of sounds black? How did somebody's voice sounds black? Come on, Dino. Let's be real here, man. Let's see here. Captain says Morphine Masters. Another person is certainly thrilled to certainly see the Morphine Masters brought in, and that's what I love. The fact that Simon Bennett, even though that they are technically writing the show for 4 to 6 year olds, they're definitely not afraid to go ahead and tap into some of the lore of Power Rangers and really bring that to the forefront for some of the older audience. Skinny Boy does say, I have a feeling that the Ranger guy in the woods possibly could be a recurring character. I'm under the impression that he's probably the father of Javi and Izzy. Considering the fact that his name was Warden Garcia, I am kind of curious if there's any connection, honestly. You know, Jaden.
Love to see a confrontation between him and the Void Knight. Are you a ranger? I mean, I'm a park ranger. Is that what you mean?
I would love it too. Jaden says, I think Kai is hot, cute. Listen, you know, I will say this about Kai. I wasn't quite sure how Kai was going to come across for me in this season, but for first episode, first impressions, I'm really interested to see how he grows. I think he'll be really interesting. I mean, considering the fact that we got so much detail about his past, or at least the idea that he is kind of very much a skeptic, believes what he can certainly see, you know, very scientific guy. His mom clearly being an archaeologist, you can see how he would certainly grow up to be that way. So for me, I am kind of curious to see how he grows as a character as the season progresses. So yeah, I'm excited for Kai and what he does as Ollie for sure. And considering the fact that this is like one of his first acting gigs that I think that he's really gotten. I do want to see how well he can do on the small screen, but so far so good if you ask me.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, so let's see here. Tyler, what's up, Tyler? I appreciate it. You coming through. He says, I wonder how many episodes it will be before we get the full team. I'm assuming episode 4, because just recently they did go ahead and release a episode title for episode number 4, and it was titled New Recruits. Now we haven't necessarily gotten a episode description as of yet, but Simon Bennett did say episode 4 or 5, they would certainly be on board. So they'll be here before we know it. Goda does say, I think I think Ollie's skepticism works. Aliens, monsters, or robots are normal for them, but most citizens probably won't encounter ghosts. I mean, I get it. I get it. But how can you believe aliens from another planet and you can't believe the concept of maybe souls survive after death, right? Like it just makes me laugh. It just makes me laugh. But who knows? Maybe there are some people that believe in aliens and monsters, but not ghosts. I'm kind of curious. Let me ask you guys, chat room, do you believe in aliens? And if you do believe in aliens, do you also automatically believe in ghosts? I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious to know. Let us know. Let's see here. Ooh, Power Rangers in your area says, if they make Ollie do a hula or haka since he's Hawaiian, that would be tight. Would it be cool to see? Absolutely. I don't necessarily know. I mean, maybe if it's warranted. Like, I don't know how people of Hawaiian culture feel about the idea of just doing a haka to do it. You know what I mean? I feel like they probably only do it if it's truly meant for a purpose. Like if you say, hey man, do your haka, I don't think they're just going to be, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know if that's considered disrespectful to them, or if that's just not part of their culture, if they have to do it because it's meaningful and something warrants it. But I don't know. What do you think, Stewart? Are you familiar with that, how that works?
I mean, honestly, maybe I'm not the right person to ask, because back in high school, we used to do that to warm up for a football game all the time.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if that was considered cultural appropriation or not. But so I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I will say when they do perform hakas, I love them. I love them. I've never seen something with such passion and emotion behind it, man. It's unbelievable if you haven't checked one out. Let's see here. Dino, and I'm glad that you break these up, Dino. He says, so glad everyone already knew Power Rangers exist. Even Ollie said, I watch the news. We get Zords after Amelia asked what else they get as Ranger weapons. And Simon Bennett has confirmed that this does take place in the main universe, not part of the Dino Charge universe. So
Mhm.
he has already kind of mentioned that, which I'm thrilled at, because for me, I love the idea of new Power Rangers under, not necessarily, maybe if they don't necessarily understand the full lore, at least realizing that there were Power Rangers in the past. So we really don't have to do that too much of a catch up, if you will. What's a Power Ranger? Well, let me explain this to you. Millions of years, like, guys, can we just, we get it. Like, so I'm glad that they went that route for sure. How do you like that idea? Do you like when your Rangers know the Power Rangers in the past?
Oh yeah, definitely. It helps save like a huge bunch of exposition, and not to mention it just to me, I just love continuity. So I love it when everything flows together. It doesn't necessarily have to be a direct sequel to anything. It can still stand on its own, but I still want to, know that that legacy is still out there, and these are the type of legacies that our new characters are having to live up to. So yeah, no, that always makes me happy. And ironically enough, the two seasons that do this are both the Ninja seasons, because you got Ninja Steel and Ninja Storm, both of which have that line of "What's a Power Ranger?" And then, or sorry, in Ninja Storm it was Power Rangers aren't real, but then when you come to find out later that they do take place in the main universe, you're like, wait, what? How would you not know that
How would
they
you not know that?
exist? Mhm.
So I'm glad they're paying attention to that for sure. Blossom with the Ollie comment. Ollie knows what Power Rangers are, but geez, he needs to know that in the world of Power Rangers, nothing is impossible in this world. I would like to see Ollie open his mind a tad, and I have a feeling that that's the route that they might actually go for Ollie this season. Do you feel that's the direction he may take?
I feel like that's going to be Ollie and Amelia like learning from each other. Like Amelia is
Mhm.
probably going to have to learn that just because something strange happens, that doesn't mean it can't be explained through something logical. Because as
Good
much as
point.
I love paranormal investigations, there are times where it can, not that it
Can be
is,
debunked.
but it can be very damaging too, debunked, and it can be bad if we look for the supernatural aspect of it and we don't look at the logical point. It can be anyways. So, and then same goes with Ollie's point of view too, is if he just completely, is so close-minded on the idea that the supernatural can't real or sorry, that the supernatural can't be real in a world like Power Rangers, that can also be very damaging too. So I can see the two of them helping each other in that sense for sure.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I'm glad you brought up that side for Amelia here. Maybe we will see her growth in that idea that some things can be debunked. It's not always supernatural or paranormal. Jaden does say Simon Bennett has a great team, which is funny because the same team that he has been around for years. It feels like
Mhm.
they've definitely have written past seasons, and one of the things that we have clearly come to learn over the years is that a lot of them had creative handcuffs on. Beast Morphers was probably their first time actually being able to showcase what they can do a little bit more, pushing the envelope. When we had Saban on tap, he had a certain way of doing things, and now really allowing these writers to have that freedom to certainly do what they want to. So it definitely feels as though yes, Simon Bennett definitely does have a great team, but they are the same people that a lot of people have kind of crapped on over the years. But now they're kind of showcasing that, hey, we have a little bit more independence. We have a little bit more creative freedom. This is kind of what we can do in regards to it. And I think they're really putting their best foot forward in regards to Dino Fury so far.
Yeah, I fully
Uh,
agree.
let's see here. A lot of people are also saying that they were surprised that Dino Daggers popped up in here so quickly. Oh, let's see here. What else we got? Captain RGD, what's up, Captain? He says, was there a male Pink Ranger in the flashbacks? I don't believe so. The only reason why I say I don't believe so is because I think when we look at this, I feel like, yeah, see the pink and the green Morphe Masters both have skirts on. So I feel like that probably just means that the pink and green Ranger would have had a skirt also. So I'm assuming that probably were females.
Yeah, that'd be my guess.
Let's see here. Here you go. I am handsome, dude. He said, "Who noticed the ancient Rangers? The Green Ranger had a skirt on." He
Yeah.
caught it also.
Yeah, so like I said, it definitely brings me to my theory that the idea of her not wearing a skirt is going to be a choice of the character, like when she first gets introduced to the costume.
Yes, and we have some people clarifying Morphin Masters were at least brought up in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Yes, they certainly were. It's been a minute. It's not something that I don't feel
Mhm.
like we hear very often at all.
I have to go back and watch that because from what I remember, it was like a one-off line or something. Because I don't remember that playing a big part in the story. Because I remember like maybe the Morphe Masters were brought up, but as far as we know, the one who created the Power Rangers was Ninjor. So I am very, I definitely really need to go back and watch it to see.
Let's see here. We got Sarav. He says that's how you create comedy. Yeah,
Mhm.
and listen, we didn't have a comedic duo in here, and they still managed to get some chuckles. I mean, if you can have some really witty banter and some great dialogue, you can do some really fantastic things with humor, even if your characters don't tend to be that humorous, right? It just depends on the delivery and the type of dialogue you put together. But I thought they handled the humor pretty well. Like it didn't have me busting the gutter or anything, but definitely some smiles and some chuckles here during this episode. How are you liking how they're planning on hopefully handling the comedy this year?
I'm absolutely enjoying it so far. It definitely reminded me of what one thing I really loved about Dino Charge is that there was never a comedic character per se. It was just the comedy would come from the group playing off of each other. I mean, I think most of the comedy would come from just the fish out of water stuff with Coda and Xandar, right? That was his name. Yeah, with
Mhm.
the two of them, but with those exceptions, like most of the comedy just came from the characters all playing off of each other, and I really hope we get a lot of that in this season as well.
I hope so too, man. I hope so too. Let's see here. Dino says we now have another mom in this series after Commander Shaw and Beast Morphers. Neo Saban era kept giving us deadbeat fathers. Um, I do love the fact that we are being introduced to more family members here this season. I don't whether or not we are introduced to as many as we were in Beast Morphers or not. I do love the fact that we're at least seeing parents in here. Dr. Arcana, who is Ollie's mom. Maybe Warden Garcia is in fact the father to Izzy and Javi. We'll definitely see. But I do love what they're doing there as well. And I will say this also, Stuart. One of the things that I'm fascinated with the fact that we're escaping the high school trope here, the idea that we are seeing sort of young adults in their careers, if you will, and that type of stuff really does fascinate me.
Yeah, I
It's a nice
actually
change of
was
pace.
gonna bring that up, but I completely forgot. Yeah, because we kind of got that in Beast Morphers, except for
Hmm.
like there were times where the character not only were the actors seemingly younger than the actors we get here, but there are also like just kind of times for the dialogue where you're kind of like, okay, these guys are supposed to be like right out of high school, but then you have them talking to each other like they're still like kind of middle school people. So it was really weird in that sense, but here it feels like they're actually like acting like adults, like, or really young adults, like just getting their career started. And I think it helps with that the actors look a little bit older than the actors from Beast Morphers.
Yeah, I definitely agree for sure. I kind of like the idea of a little bit older Rangers, honestly.
Also, to
Um,
correct myself, it wasn't
Sure.
Xandar, sorry, it was Ivan. It
Sorry,
was the
Ivan.
Knights of Xandar, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
That's correct. Yes, sir. Let's see here. I think other than that, man, that actually might do it for us here in regards to it, since we've been talking about Dino Fury for almost an hour itself. I promise all the reviews probably won't be this long, but we do have ourselves a co-host today, so we definitely wanted to get into the nitty-gritty of at least kicking off the first episode of Dino Fury correctly. So, overall, Stuart, do you have any last comments about the series before we wrap up?
This was definitely a really solid opening episode. I have a lot of hopes for the series. I definitely feel like Simon Bennett really has a passion for this, and I
Mhm.
feel like we're really going to see this play out later on. So I am super hyped to see where they go from here.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. I think Simon Bennett, hopefully him and the rest of his crew and cast definitely have something special in store for us. But I'm impressed, man. Characters great. First story out the gate, pretty fantastic. action, unbelievable music, fit absolutely perfectly. Talk about driving somebody's emotions, and I'm really fascinated to see what our characters wind up getting into and how they develop over the rest of the season. But episode 1, guys, in the books for our brand new Dino Fury season. We want to know your thoughts at the end of the day. After this live chat, feel free to go ahead and give your thoughts in the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. But other than that, Stewart, thank you very much, man, for certainly joining us today. And if people want to actually go ahead and follow you on social media, where can they go ahead and find you at, sir?
You guys can follow me at TurboStew01, and also you can also check out my other channel, Turbo Studios, where I got a new video that should be up by now. Kind of a fun series that I just started called "Could I Survive This?" And basically, I look at horror films and talk about like dumb decisions characters make, and I bring in the idea of what if I was in their shoes, what would I have done differently, kind of a thing. So if you guys want to check that out, it's on my channel.
And you also do our Common Rider series reviews, right?
That is correct. I will be, I'll be doing, I do Kamen Rider reviews every Tuesday on this channel. And then on our other channel, A Plus Hero Report, also, it'll be Tuesday night. I will be doing Superman and Lois reviews as well once that show finally airs.
And for the viewers who are watching, do you have any content over on our Patreon also?
Yeah, on our Patreon, I do reviews for both Kamen Rider Saber and Kamen Rider Ryuki. Essentially, every week I'm kind of switching it. So I go from one week I'm going to be reviewing Kamen Rider Ryuki to the next week I do Kamen Rider Dragon Knight.
So yeah, so you definitely have some great content over on our Patreon, guys. So definitely go ahead and check out Stewart whenever you guys get the opportunity to. Go ahead and certainly follow him. But I guess I'll see you tomorrow for A Plus Hero Report, sir.
Sounds good. See you tomorrow.
All right, take care, Stewart.
You too.
All right, guys, and that is, in fact, our Dino Fury episode number 1 review. But again, that certainly let us know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below, guys.